Hey everybody, Rick from Noble Speed Equipment. I'm going to show you how to make spark plug wires like a pro. So in this video, we're just going to focus on the two main types of spark plug wire. One is going to be the copper core wire, which is meant for point style ignitions, and the suppression core wire, which is meant for electronic ignition. So the copper core wire that's meant for points ignition is exactly what it sounds like. It has a copper core, and it's just like a primary wire or speaker wire. And I'll strip it a little bit here, and you give it a spin. Comes right off. And if you look at it, it's copper core. It's strands of nickel plated copper wire. So that's the first part, or first type, and that's going to be for points ignition. And then this is the suppression core wire, which is meant for electronic ignition. And this is the inner conductor. And this is a spiral core type suppression wire. This is a very good wire, performance oriented, but in a old school kind of look. Good stuff. Okay, so we got the two different types, and we're gonna start going through what you need and don't need to crimp the wires. So when you want to start assembling your sets, you need just a basic couple of tools. And if it really came down to it, you could do the whole thing with just a set of pliers and a razor blade. That's all. But in this day and age, we have all the tools. I have the tools because I do this, professionally. These are ratcheting crimping tools. This is a vise crimping tool. I have this on my website. I don't have this because this is made in China, even though it's a good tool. I can't support that at the price that they sell these for. But if you're more than welcome to go on Amazon or eBay, wherever, get the cheapest one. That's very rarely do you say that when it comes to tools, but with this tool in particular, they sell this same exact ratcheting plier, crimping plier. This is under Taylor brand, like the Taylor wire, and it used to be this tool, much nicer tool, same basic design, but now it's this tool, and it's $90, and it's the same as the one that you can buy anywhere for $20, as long as it looks like this. There's no difference. A little upsetting, but let's not get sidetracked on that. But buy the cheapest one you can get if you're going to get one of those. Not unless you're going to do it professionally. But even then, they've been serving me well. It'll be more than good enough for casual use. Or like I said, I have these on my website for $12 or $13. So we'll get into it. Basically, you're going to want to cut the wire, and I use this simple little piece of 3/16 steel and a razor blade when it comes to the copper core wire. It doesn't let you cut the wire too deeply, and I just spin it, get a couple of cuts into it, and just spin it off like this. You can also use the ratcheting pliers. They have a wire cutter in the first set right there. Give it a couple of cuts, and you're going to want to spin it, and that breaks it free. So that's what you'll do with that. I'm going to start over. People always ask me, how much? And I'd say, as a good rule of thumb, and just something to say safely, about 3/4 of an inch, because you want to have it come over, and you want to make sure that the wire that you strip off is enough to run down the back of this. And there's going to be some, fiddling around with this, so you want to make sure that it's not going to slip out and come out while you're adjusting stuff and getting things ready to crimp. So just leave a little bit extra. let's get going. No time like the present, right? So we're gonna leave about 3/4 of an inch from here to there. Give it a couple of cuts. And this is the copper core wire. We have the wire exposed. And what I like to do with this is I kind of unbraid it, however you want to call it. I spin it and get the individual strands to kind of open up so they lay flat. And that's just a personal preference thing, but I do it because it seems like the crimp wants to do a little less rocking and rolling, and it doesn't create a pivot point, and it seems like you'll get a better connection, and it also increases the surface area of contact between the crimp and the actual conductor. So we got the crimp on here. Let me make sure, because I have two different ones out here. I have 7mm and 8mm. This is the 7mm one. So you're gonna lay it in there. And this is a definite must do. It's leaving a little bit of the material here. Now let me get something to point with. Leaving a little bit of the spark plug wire above the shoulder of this crimp. And what that's gonna do is when you crimp this over, it's gonna allow it to be almost like a knot, a safety, where it puts a little bit of a bulb on top of this crimp, and this is not gonna wanna pull off. So that's if there's one thing you can take away from this video, that's gonna be it. That's the measure of success right there, leaving a little bit of material above the shoulder of that crimp. So you're gonna wanna take your pliers and just give it a little squeeze. You don't have to go crazy. And that's gonna let it get set. And these are the crimping pliers that I made. Put my own jaws because I'm doing this professionally. And you just want to give it a squeeze. And there you have it. Doesn't get any better than that. And see what I was saying with leaving the material above that? If you go to pull that, that's never going to come off. I don't care what you do. You'll destroy something else. And there is the wire sticking out from the back. So we know that we have full contact of the wire going through. So that's the copper core wire. We'll do one on the suppression core wire. It's virtually the same process, but this is something where if you use a razor blade, you really got to be careful because you do not want to nick the inner conductor. On the copper core wire, if you nick the inner conductor, it's not good practice, but the wire is still going to work. On the suppression core wire, there's a good chance that it's not going to work or work optimally. And on the cutting tool, you can see that it leaves a wide hole. And this is just to trying to get through the insulation in the outer jacket. And what really finishes it off is when you spin the wire to the right-hand side, because this wire is wrapped spirally, because this is a spiral core wire. The inner conductor is wrapped spirally around the inner core. So if you spin it to the right, you're spinning it in the same direction where it's not going to want to unwind the inner conductor. So we're going to leave about 3/4 of an inch. You're going to turn it to the right, and you'll hear it crack almost like celery. And there you go. No damage at all to the inner conductor. And honestly, if it is damaged because you cut it with a razor blade, do it again and figure out a way to make yourself a mechanical stop where you're not going to cut into the inner conductor, because that's just going to lead to rough and poor running conditions. Same thing in this, I leave it alone. Just fold it over, and you're going to want to make sure that you leave a little bit past that shoulder. Give it a squeeze. Give it a crimp. And that's never coming off. And that's all the difference. So pretty simple. It's a lot of people might feel like it's very intimidating to make a wire set, but there's not much to it. If you have a couple of tools, I can demonstrate this. When it comes to boots, I use dielectric grease. You can get this at the auto parts store. To me, this is, kind of the best thing to use. Just give it a little bit of bloop, send that in, lube that up, and give, we'll use this, it's a little bit longer, a little bit more to hold on to. We'll give the head of this a little bit of grease. As you can see, I'm not using that much. It's not, dripping off of it, but that's all it takes. Put a little bit on here, and just gonna push it in. There you go. It's in. Can't see it, but it's all the way in. It's buried. So a lot of people are like, you gotta push the boots on. It's a big deal. It's not a big deal. Grow up. Let's use the vice crimper. And give me a second and I'll get this set up. All right, so we got the vice set up here. It's just put down with a little C-clamp. And this is the wire stripper. Like I said, I do have this in my store, but I'm not saying that so I can sell it, because I literally make $2 on this. $1.88 the last time I looked. I just offer it because this one's actually made in the USA, and none of these ratcheting pliers are, and I'm not getting into that. But I carry this one in particular because it has a notch here, has like a keyway and a key that keeps this thing from sliding back and forth. Some of the other ones, I know the Summit brand one used to be like this. It's not anymore. It doesn't have this keyway. So Summit, if you're listening, this keyway makes all the difference. Turns it into a usable tool or a garbage tool. Just because it keeps it from being a little less fiddly when you got this half crimped over with the pliers and you're trying to get this all set up. When this thing starts sliding back and forth and you're trying to get it to the vise, it's not confidence inspiring. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt. So that's the reason why I carry this one, but feel free to get it on eBay. There's a whole bunch of these. I'm sure there's ones in Summit or Jags or wherever you get your speed wares, and they're also in my store. Help me out. Let me make a buck, literally. So this one has a little port where you can slide the wire in and use it to kind of score the wire with a razor blade. So let's put that wire in there and get the razor blade going. And leave about, like I said, 3/4 of an inch. And I'm just spinning the wire and resting the razor blade on it. Let's see if that's enough to get it done. Should be good. Let's see what we did. Yep, give it a spin. Pull it off. We're good. All right, same thing as before. I'm gonna spin this as a solid core wire. We're gonna open up these strands, let them lay flat, increase the contact area. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a shoulder. Give it a light squeeze. You don't have to go insane with this because you're just trying to keep it positioned. It's on there, it's not coming off. And this is what I was saying, that the notch kind of helps out. Kind of just keeps everything lined up while you're trying to get this together, or this tool's not sliding all over the place. See, that's why that notch is nice. It's locked in. And so this has some tabs here to keep it from falling through the vise. I'm gonna open up the vise a little bit. And then you're just gonna crimp it. Probably should be in the center of the vise to keep the jaw from cocking a little bit more. But that's it. Don't keep cranking on it because the tool is going to be bottomed out There's really nowhere else you can go. That's just when you start breaking stuff. Did we do it? Let's see. We did it. We squeezed it. It's squeezed. That's not coming off. It's good enough. It's more than good enough. It's great. So this is the vise crimper. This is the crimping pliers. Excuse me, the cat got my tongue. And this is with suppression core and copper core wire. The only other thing that I want to talk about is real quick on some of this suppression core wire. There's a little extra strands of like fiberglass or Kevlar, whatever they're using. This is a Taylor Spyro Pro, good stuff. Sometimes, yeah, there it is. That's all. Don't be afraid you didn't ruin anything. And when I'm doing a wire set, sometimes I like to just kind of get rid of those. Really doesn't matter. But kind of just to be cleaning up. I'm trying to be a professional here. And it's going to be the same thing as this wire, the spiral core. Just fold it over, squeeze, squeeze, crimp, crimp. So it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. There's not much going on. There's nothing to be intimidated about. And I really suggest, if you haven't made a set of wires, definitely make your own. I have the lacquered wire. I have the Taylor Spyro Pro. I have the clear red wire. So I got everybody covered. If you have any questions, leave a comment. You can send me an email. You can go on my website. There's a contact through there. You can find me on Instagram. And this is who I am, Noble Speed Equipment. Thanks.